check this out. I had to show you guys this. So I'm set up with my PC in my son's room, so my son gets the benefit of experiencing this high-powered PC rendering beast. And boy, has his gaming shot through the roof. But he's got a lot of stuff that he's bought for himself, and I think it's just really cool, right? So, he's got this. It's a pretty decent mouse, actually. I forget what brand it is here. But it's not too bad. It's all glowy. He likes his glowy stuff. But this is his keyboard, and this is awesome, right? Look at that. That's cool. I love using this. It's a little bit distracting. That's crazy. It's a 100-pound keyboard. I've never spent 100 quid on a keyboard before. But that's just insane. It's got various different lighting modes, but this has to be my favorite. That's so cool. It's like Avatar, where they used ambient occlusion for the footsteps and then baked that out and used that as a mask for its glow effect and that kind of thing. So I'm just setting up for the morning. Boy, some heavy conversations yesterday morning for this, I guess, my morning show. But, all good stuff. I think through the course of the academic year, considering we are in, university, it's good to sort of be able to stretch those intellectual muscles a little bit. Oh, man. I don't know why I torture myself like this in the mornings when I'm not firing on full thrusters. But it's all good. It's just a wonderful way of starting the morning and kind of getting in the vibe of stuff. What I like to do is I like to use the curtains in the bedroom as kind of gobos or flags. And then if I get the angle of the curtain just right, we'll get a nice kick light going down the side of me. But I'm still getting flare, so I think I need to snoot my camera. Maybe I've seen people build a cardboard snoot to get rid of that. Either that or just find a nice angle that minimizes that flare. So, yeah. So what should we talk about this morning, guys? Getting ready for visual studies class, which will be a nice drawing session. I think maybe. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what subject I want to broach today. I do know that there's a lot of talk, I guess, about responses to COVID-19 from the UK government. Right. So let's unpack that a little bit. I think it's interesting because we have Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister, and he's talked a little bit about this idea of, well, him and his party are talking about always listening to the science and always following the science, and yet in this sort of second spike, because let's face it, guys, we're in a second spike, he's not doing that. So he's going to be called on it by other MPs, the justification for why he's deciding this time not to follow the science. That brings up an interesting question. When you make your decisions about coronavirus, are you listening to the politicians or are you listening to the scientists? Are you justifying that scientists maybe don't always know what they're talking about, or that scientists tend to overcompensate or be overcautious? Does that sound familiar? You hear those arguments back and forth? The interesting thing about the science not always getting it right, that's an interesting thing. So, I don't know the particular statistics, but let's take a look at metaphorical statistics or probabilities or hypotheticals, right? So let's say scientists don't always get it right? Would it be safe to assume that scientists, because they spend decades researching a particular topic, have some sort of justification for their opinion on that topic? And if so, would you say, yeah, they don't always get it right, but they get it maybe 90% of the time? 80% of the time? You gotta be fair, right? So, to be fair, how often do the scientists get it right? How often do the scientists get it wrong? Now let me ask you this question. How often do the politicians get it wrong? You guys will probably be nodding along going, oh, a lot. A lot. Is it safe to say they get it wrong more often than the scientists? Yeah. Hell yeah. Right? So when you say scientists don't always get it right, it's not justification to suddenly listen to a politician who gets it wrong even more times than the scientists. Right? And, no facts or figures there, just simple logic, isn't it? Right? It's like something seriously going wrong with your car and deciding not to go to a mechanic, but to your neighbor who builds model cars as a hobby to take a look at maybe, I don't know, your alternator. And then being asked to be paid an exorbitant amount of money. That's the other thing too. We're paying the politicians to lie to us. And then we have, the scientists. Obviously they're being, some of them government funded, so by proxy they're being paid by us. But anyway, I think here's what I'll end off on. It's short and sweet this morning, right? I'm finding that this day and age, I first heard Martin say it on Martin's Money, and I started to hear this saying quite a bit. And it's this this idea that followed closely on the back of a statement such as the scientists don't always get it right will always be the statement. In fact, nobody really knows what's going to happen. Nobody really knows, right? What's going to happen with the economy after Brexit? Nobody really knows. This part and parcel has to do with politicians being quite non-committal about consequences, obviously for their own political survival. So, politicians for thousands of years have mastered the art of answering a question without answering a question and sort of leaving us baffled, right? But then that results in us saying, well, nobody knows. Scientists get it wrong 5% of the time, 10% of the time. Therefore, nobody knows, right? Do you guys hear that out there? I hear that quite a bit. About COVID-19. Well, nobody really knows what's going to happen or what's going on. Nobody knows if masks really work. This is rapidly becoming justification for you to do whatever the hell you want, isn't it? It's a bit frustrating for me. It's like, oh, I'm not going to wear this mask. Well, I should wear the mask, but they're saying the masks don't really necessarily protect you. In fact, nobody knows if they do or not. Therefore, I'm not going to wear it. Or Brexit, or nobody knows what's really going to happen in the economy. Therefore, let's just sit back and let it happen. Not necessarily saying it's a wrong opinion to have, if that's what you're trying to say. But oftentimes I try to pick apart what people say and get at their subtext. And not because I want to win an argument or anything like that, because as a creative, and I'm cycling it back to the narrative, as a creative, I oftentimes try to figure out what people are thinking at the same time that they're saying something, or what are the deeper psychological underpinnings of profound, bold statements, because more times than not, people are very rarely saying what they're thinking, right? And this harkens back to writing clever dialogue. And again, why I think these morning sessions for me to sort of explore the human condition are really, really important, because I do a lot of thinking about creating effective characters. Now, one thing that is a big pet peeve for actors all over the planet is on-the-nose dialogue. What is on-the-nose dialogue? You'll probably hear me talk about this again and again and again. But it's basically where you write dialogue in a script that reflects exactly what the character is thinking, right? So, for example, don't go through that door. Sounds cheesy, sounds cliche, because the character is thinking, don't go through that door, and saying, don't go through that door. Right? So the more I sort of research, our, I guess our emotional motivations and our deep-seated subconscious responses to things, the more I find it easier to craft clever dialogue, right? So this is why I'm trying to get at the heart of things. And the big thing for me today, just I think on the tail end of discussions about this second spike that's happening in the UK, is trying to get at what people are really trying to say and what's really sort of trying to motivate them, without going conspiracy theory deep, right? And that's the difficulty as well, right? As we sort of attribute different hidden agendas or motivations to the things we talk about, there is the danger of going really, really deep. So there are, as with everything, there are boundaries on the left, right, and the front and back in terms of where we can go or where we can explore an idea. And the same is in terms of the psychoanalysis of a character and trying to understand where they're coming from and trying to pin that down through the dialogue that you write that's coming out of the character's mouth, right? So, yeah. Fun thoughts for the morning. Thanks a lot for joining me for this early morning session, and I will see you guys at 10, where we're going to take a look at some character drawing. Okay, I will talk to you guys later.